Welcome to the Ringer NFL show. I'm Sheil Kapadia. Today we're looking at the Week 7 slate. You know the exercise. What headlines are we going to be reading next week? It's a fun little game to predict what we think might happen in these matchups. And there are some good matchups, Bucs-Lions on Monday night, Mike Vrabel going back to Tennessee. How about Colts-Chargers? Before the season, we would have looked at Colts-Chargers and been like, why would anyone want to watch Colts-Chargers in Week 7? But now it has a chance to be very entertaining. So we'll discuss what we're watching in those matchups with a great guest. My friend Field Yates from ESPN was kind enough to join us today. So we got sidetracked at one point in this conversation and started talking about a potential coach-quarterback partnership for 2026. So that was a nice little unexpected detour. See what you think about that potential partnership. And then at the end, of course, as always on the Friday show, the Ringer 107. All right, let's take a break. We come back with Field Yates from ESPN. This is the Ringer NFL show presented by FanDuel. And if you're betting on the NFL, FanDuel's the place to do it. They've got everything. Same game parlays, quick bets for when you want to jump in live, and your way so you can set your own lines. The app's fast, it's easy to use, and best of all, when you win, you get paid out instantly. Download the FanDuel app or go to FanDuel.com/RingerNFL to get started. The Ringer is committed to responsible gaming. Please visit rg-help.com to learn more about the resources and helplines available, and listen to the end of the episode for additional details. Must be 21 plus and present in select states and 18 plus in D.C., Kentucky, and Wyoming. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit rg-help.com. Call 1-888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org/chat in Connecticut. All right, we are back here with Field Yates from ESPN talking headlines we're going to see next week after Week 7. Field, you're the guest, so I like to be hospitable. So you start us off here. What is one headline or storyline we're going to be talking about next week?
Okay, so I'm happy to start first, or go first, I should say. But my question is, do you want the more positive headline or the one that comes with some positivity but pivots into a conversation of a couple of teams that might be sort of houses of cards right now?
Okay, give me the positive first. I can be a hater. I do like to crush people, but we'll save that. Let the people wait for that a little bit.
All right. Danny Dimes continues his red-hot season and outduels Justin Herbert as the Colts improve to 6-1 and remind people that all this discourse about other teams that are now considered the best in the AFC might need to include the Colts, who have the best record in the AFC. This is the second trip for the Colts out to Los Angeles this year. Not that the Rams game has much to do with this Chargers game on Sunday, but I do think the Colts are getting the Chargers at a pretty good time, given all the injury attrition that the Chargers have experienced. That's really an annual tradition in the NFL, the Chargers navigating the injured reserve list. But the Colts, I was thinking about it, we all have platforms and we can use them as we see fit. But it does feel like, generally speaking, the Colts have been a relatively under-discussed 5-1 team, and a team that could easily be 6-0 if not for mental errors down the stretch against the Rams, a game they should have won. I know that Shane Steichen would never say it's just about one play, but I think there are those of us that feel like if A.D. Mitchell just runs through or past the goal line fully with the football in his hands, then that game is probably over if he scores that touchdown rather than it being a touchback and the ball awarded to the Rams. We might be talking about the Colts as the NFL's only undefeated team. So, like the way that this team is playing right now, hard for me to find a dramatic weakness within this roster. Relatively healthy as well. They've got a very clear formula on offense. So I think they handle business in a game that, despite some recent struggles for the Chargers, they still are tied for the best record in the AFC West. So this would be a top division team taking down yet another top division team.
You know what? You're right. Like, I do feel like I have brought them up a lot, but it's shocking. Literally, there's so many of us in the content space, and maybe you did, I don't know, but I don't remember anyone being like, Colts, offensive juggernaut this year. They're going to have the best offense in the NFL. And I kept waiting. After 2 weeks, I was joking that, all right, they're this year's version of the 2024 Saints. I'm not buying it. And then it's 3 weeks. and then it's 4 weeks, and now it's 6 weeks. And to your point, it doesn't feel fluky when you watch them. It doesn't seem fluky. It's not like they're winning these games and it's like, oh, come on, they got lucky there. It's like they're going up and down the field pretty much every single week against every single defense that's put in their way. So you sound like you're buying this. You think that once we get to week 12, week 15, barring some weird injury stuff with the Colts, we're still going to be saying, no, what we saw the first 6 weeks of the season, that was real.
The Colts have been where I think the Browns have often been, which is if you only ranked the positions that aren't quarterback, you'd have them very high up your roster rankings. Turns out the most important position in sports remains quarterback. And so if you don't have one, I don't care if you have a great pass rush and an excellent cornerback room, it's not going to matter unless your quarterback, the signal caller, is playing high-level football. So I do believe it with the Colts here, and I'll just hand up one of my big complaints about the Colts' decision to start Daniel Jones rather than Anthony Richardson is while my hopes are pretty limited for Richardson as a player in the NFL, I want it to be fully proven sort of correct that he is not the guy going forward, feeling like the ceiling was relatively low with Daniel Jones. Turns out that could not have been more incorrect. The Colts made a brilliant bet this offseason, and Daniel Jones not only gives them a high floor, they're already 5-1, but potentially a very high ceiling as well. That division just feels far more for the taking, or at least available for the taking compared to when we came into the year, and I sort of felt like inertia would prevail. The Texans would find a way to once again win the AFC South.
Yeah, I wonder if there was anyone even in that building, even like the biggest Daniel Jones fan, what their expectations were. Because I'm with you. I don't think it was this. I think it was like maybe we have the 12th ranked offense and we go 9-8 or 10-7 and we sneak by that. That's not what it's been. Jonathan Taylor's been awesome. Like you mentioned, the supporting cast. I do wonder in this game. So the Chargers are favored in this game. So to your point about, are the Colts like getting no respect as a 5-1 team with the best point differential? Chargers are favored by 1.5 here. It's in LA. The only thing I wonder here is that Colts pass rush. Are they the team that can expose like the issues the Chargers have on the offensive line, or is Justin Herbert getting a little comfy here and he's coming out and saying, hey, don't forget about us. You know, we've had a topsy-turvy first 6 weeks here, but we're still a very good team. So that's kind of a key matchup, I think, in this game.
No doubt about it. Yep. And Joe Alt, their best, when healthy, offensive lineman now, has been, at least at last check, which was Wednesday when I saw him talk, he said, are you going to play? And he was like, if I play, I play. If I don't, I don't. We'll sort of see later on this week. So the battered and bruised offensive line might or might not be healthy by the time we get to Sunday.
I mean, the amount of our lives feel hearing reporters ask players, are you going to play? And listen, we like that information. We need that information. But yeah, I mean, that has probably taken up more of a chunk of my life than I anticipated when I was dreaming about this profession. You know,
we should not do the math right now. It will be discouraging to actually crunch the numbers there.
There you go. All right. My first one here, Field, we're going to Monday night.
Ooh.
Goff outduels Baker in Monday night shootout. At first I was confident. And then I started thinking, wait, do I actually want to say this? Because I don't want to be the person betting against the Bucs and Baker Mayfield. But it's a really fun game. And both of these teams have injuries. Bucs have injuries at wide receiver. Lions have injuries in the secondary. Brian Branch is suspended for this game. So that's one aspect that's kind of interesting. It's like where they're banged up. Those are the positions that are matching up against one another. And then the other thing here is these are two of the best run defenses in the NFL. So I don't think you're going to see Tampa or Detroit come out and say, let's, pound the rock on early downs. I think they're going to put the ball in Jared Goff's hands and in Baker Mayfield's hands. And Lions are 5.5 point favorites here. I think, they got a chance here. If they deliver a convincing victory, Field, I think next week we're having the conversation of like, wait a minute, are the Lions just again the best team in the NFC? Packers stole the offseason headlines and Eagles were the defending champs. But here we are 7 weeks in, and who do you feel better about than the Detroit Lions? So where are you with this game, with that potential storyline?
The Lions probably rank near the top. Maybe the Chiefs are the number one team in this category, but the Lions need to be near the top of the list of teams that you would much rather play coming off of a win for them than a loss for them. Dan Campbell has just been visibly upset, it feels like, in his various media appearances this week, still pissed off about what happened on Sunday night when they got taken pretty much to the woodshed by the Chiefs, 13-point loss. And after that first drive, it was a pretty convincing effort from Kansas City to augur that run defense that you have already mentioned being really good for Detroit. According to Dan Campbell, Aleem McNeil is freaking playing on Monday night.
I saw that.
Freaking
playing.
Yeah, freaking playing. Now, unless he has a setback during practice this week, he's their best run stuffer when healthy. So that would only make the challenge of running the football without Bucky Irving that much more difficult against this impressive Detroit defensive front. Would love to see these two teams play again come January, because they have, on top of being very good, like the entertainment factor is extremely high for both of them. And Detroit, this is not to overstate the importance of any single game, but I'm with you in that there's a fairly wide range of outcomes here in terms of what conclusions could be drawn with a win or a loss. A win means, hey, they're the best team in the NFC again, even if the Packers still have one loss coming out of this weekend. A loss might mean, hey, if they're 4-3, and if the Bears take care of business against the Saints and they're 4-2, it's, has the coordinator and the coaching attrition, the brain drain caught up to Detroit a little bit in big games? I think we have evidence that two things can be true at once. Ben Johnson can be a really great offensive mind, and Aaron Glenn can be a really great defensive mind, and the Lions can still be good. It's not that those guys weren't impactful losses. It's just that this team has a lot of great talent and some smart coaches still, but this is a wide range of outcomes game for Detroit come Monday night.
Yeah, they've already had it. It feels like they've had 4 different seasons already, kind of. After week 1, they had that loss, and we were having the conversation you just mentioned, where it's like, well, what did we expect? They lose both their coordinators, and they lose a couple veteran offensive linemen. Of course, they're going to take a step back. And then after that, it's like, nope, this actually looks like one of the best teams in the NFL. And so now you look at it here, you're right. If they lose back-to-back games, maybe we're going back in that direction. I think the injuries, they just can't seem to shake on defense. Going back to last year when they had all those injuries, their most injured defense in the NFL, and now they got the injuries again here in the secondary. It just feels like that's their biggest issue. I don't know that their other issues or any of them are really that serious here. But if you had to do sort of, Field Yates temperature check on NFC contenders, and I say, all right, pick one right now as we go into week 7 that's going to represent the conference in the Super Bowl. Who do you got?
My preseason pick was Philadelphia. I feel less confident in that one now. I would go with Detroit. I still think that the Lions' best is better than every other team's best. Or I shouldn't say I still think that. I now think that with the help of 6 weeks of football to judge it based off of. So give me Detroit. That conference feels way more stacked than we thought it was coming into the season. And then on top of that, I believe that this, just the couple of teams that I felt most confident coming into the year. Like Philadelphia, this is a perfect time to be a little bit off the Philadelphia Eagles scent, right? I was actually at the game at MetLife last Thursday night when they played the Giants, and the energy was off. It just felt like an uninspired effort all the way around. So they're probably ripe for the picking, but I haven't lost all of my Eagles' hope by any stretch. There's still so much talent on that roster, and they've had these moments previously, right? I mean, famously in December of last year, before they won the Super Bowl in February, A.J. Brown is calling out the passing offense. So the Eagles are the kind of team that no matter how stuck in the mud they might be at the given moment, they still have a chance.
Yeah, I think I'm with you. When you said that, I'm like, I think I would pick the Lions too. I feel you could go Seahawks,
Lions, Bucks, Rams, Seahawks,
Bucks, Packers, Eagles. So you could go in a number of different directions. But I think if I had to pick one right now, I do think they're the team I feel the best about. But you know what? The beauty of this is we get to change our minds every week. So I can
the Falcons make me change their mind every week. I change my mind every week with the Falcons. So right now they feel like a team we should be mentioning, except for the fact that I remember they got smacked by the Panthers 30-0. So I'm still working on them, figuring them out.
Let me take a break here. We'll take a break. We come back, and then Field delivers his next pick here. The Ringer NFL show is brought to you by FanDuel, and FanDuel is turning up the heat every Sunday with Power Hour. Every Sunday from 3 to 5 p.m. Eastern, FanDuel is giving you a profit boost to use on live bets during the most intense stretch of the NFL slate. This is when games flip, underdogs rally, parlays hit. It's called Power Hour for a reason, and it happens every Sunday only on FanDuel. Head to FanDuel.com/NFL to get started. Must be 21 plus and present in select states, or 18 plus and present in DC, Kentucky, or Wyoming. Opt-in required. Bonus issued as non-withdrawable profit boost tokens. Restrictions apply, including any token expiration and max wager amount. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit rg-help.com. Call 1-888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org/chat in Connecticut. All right, we're back on the Ringer NFL show. All right, Field, what do you got? What's next?
All right, so this is a less exciting game. And at last check, the forecast for this game is going to be just ridiculous. Like, we're talking rain, high winds in Cleveland. Ooh. The lake effect is in full effect here, but I'm going to go with Quinshon Judkins runs for 162 yards and a touchdown as the Browns notch their second win of the season over the Miami Dolphins. I don't think that part of the equation is that important here, Sheil. I do wonder, though, even if this prediction is wrong, if we're talking about a coach and a hot seat very, very much on Monday morning, if the Browns take care of business and win, like I am predicting they do win, the Dolphins will be 1-6. Mike McDaniel's seat will be extremely, extremely warm. They are, I would say, the co-worst defense in the NFL. The Cowboys are putting a run for their money, or giving them a run for their money. But we have seen what's happened to the Miami defense this season, completely dilapidated. Especially against the run. They cannot stop the run whatsoever. Just ask Rico Dowdle and his 230-plus yards from scrimmage a couple of weeks ago. So I think that this Browns game, Browns offense is just going to try to run the crap out of the ball. But conversely, if Miami does win, I think Kevin Stefanski I think both Mike McDaniel and Kevin Stefanski are great offensive minds. But I just think it's natural to expect that if Miami wins on Sunday, at home, Dylan Gabriel will be 0-3 as a starter. We're going to hear conversations about these teams and whether changes are coming.
That's interesting, because I look at those two guys and I always try to think about if a coach is let go, what's the market like? Yeah. And for McDaniel, I feel like he's probably going to be a highly sought after offensive coordinator where you say, this guy can coach offense. We've seen it. That's been consistent. I want him on my staff. Yes. I feel like Stefanski's going to will get a head coaching job pretty quickly.
Right away.
Right? Okay, you agree.
He's a two-time coach of the year. Yeah, I mean, and he's been doing this for longer, obviously, than McDaniel. But yes, he, to me, would be a very coveted candidate for anybody with a young quarterback. So we're 3 steps ahead of the curve here because he's still the Browns head coach. And if they turn things around, who knows? And maybe they just continue to be patient here. They had the second worst record in the league last year, and they did nothing. I happen to think, though, that Kevin Stefanski is a really, really good head coach. That it's hard to win in this league when your quarterback situation is as bad as the Browns' quarterback situation is right now.
Yeah, we had a holiday in the Kapadia household this week, Field, where first time I checked out Tankathon. Oh, it took me until after week 6, and I just checked it out and it was because of this game. I said, this game could have, you're a big draft guy. I said, this game could have a big impact on the draft order. Right now, the Browns would pick 2nd, I believe, and the Dolphins would pick 4th. So I don't know how that changes based on the outcome, but maybe this is what we're talking about. When you're doing draft coverage on ESPN in April, you're saying, hey, don't forget that week 7 game. If only Team X would have lost, they would have a chance at this player versus this player. So now we're getting really ahead of ourselves, but I couldn't help myself. I had to look.
But my closing thought on that is it really matters to me, especially when the two teams involved both need a quarterback. Because as you know, because quarterback A is ranked 1st and quarterback B is ranked 3rd, it doesn't mean that a team who's picking 3rd as opposed to 1st feels strongly about that quarterback, right? There are some teams that just have conviction on a player and not on other players. We saw it this year, right? I mean, Jackson Dart might have been quarterback 2 in a lot of teams' eyes, but he didn't go until 4th when the Giants traded up, 26, excuse me. The Saints clearly didn't feel strong enough about Jackson Dart to take him number 9 overall. Maybe they have a belief in Spencer Rattler, but they took a quarterback in Tyler Shuck, 40th overall. So quarterback was certainly on their mind. So the bottom line is that wins, it's hard to tell a team to not win during the season. But yes, I am part of that contingent that has its eyes peeled for these inconsequential games, which proved to be very consequential come April.
No doubt. Yeah, I think to your point, I think if the Dolphins lose this game and are kind of embarrassed with all the noise around Tua this week, and it's just the vibes there are terrible, where maybe they're just like, all right, we know we're making a move. Let's just make the move now. Cleveland would surprise me if they did something in season or anytime, because it feels like they're kind of on the same page about what this season was going to be about.
Yeah, I'm a Kevin Stefanski believer as a head coach. I think Mike McDaniel does some really great offensive stuff. I just don't have the same track record as Kevin. We do with Kevin to sort of prove that, like, we've seen Kevin do some improbable things in Cleveland. Mike has taken the Dolphins to the playoffs on multiple occasions as well. But there's a team that feels like its ceiling has been established as too low with the current approach they have on this roster.
No doubt. All right, my next one here.
Okay.
Last one we'll get to. Headline. Vrabel pours it on as Patriots embarrass Titans. So Mike Vrabel's going to Tennessee. Patriots 7-point favorites. And
on
Field
the road,
a lot of on the road. And a lot of times we talk about the new coach bump. You fire a coach, you get the interim coach. You get that 1 week where everyone's energized, especially if it's the old coach, they didn't like him, and the new coach is player friendly. And it's like, all right, let's just loosen up here and go play football. I don't know that that's going to happen here. I think they're just kind of all over the place and have been poorly coached. And I don't think it's something where if they have more energy or play more inspired football that we're really going to be able to tell this week. And then on the other side field, we got, Vrabel, I don't know. He feels like the kind of guy who might hold a grudge. Yeah, I'm known to hold a grudge or two. So I would be like, I'm going to stick it to him. The owner didn't want me. Maybe I lost a power struggle. Maybe there were issues with the GM. And guess what? My team's looking good right now. Your team's in turmoil. I think there's going to be something in this game. Fourth quarter. Either he goes for two, either he's throwing it when they think they're just running the clock. Something like that makes the headlines next week in a big Patriots victory.
Yeah, Vrabel, definitely the perfect coach, by the way, to say all the right things, even if he's feeling a certain way. So, it's not like Mike has come out and said, hey, I want to stick it to the Titans. As a matter of fact, he's been very respectful of the organization. He has acknowledged that he reached out to Brian Callahan, and he's been in that same seat before, literally fired by the Titans as their head coach. But yeah, we're all humans, and I think it would be very gratifying for them to go down there and take it to the Titans, especially on the heels of a 3-game winning streak. The Patriots now feel like a team that I thought going into the Buffalo game 2 weeks ago that it might be a little bit of a measuring stick game, but it's, hey, we're close, but not quite there yet. That's a win. And like not a, cutting corners win. It wasn't like, Josh had 7 turnovers, including a ball where he fumbled it into the end zone and the Patriots just picked it up or something like, there's no blocked punt or anything. That was just a good, hard-earned victory for the Patriots. And they're playing, Drake May's playing lights out right now. He is utterly ridiculous. And the marriage between he and Josh McDaniels seems to be very, very profitable at the moment.
No doubt. All right, last thing I'll leave you with here, because I was going to bring it up when you mentioned Stefanski. Yeah. And I thought we might be going down that road, but the thought entered my mind. Stefanski? Cam Ward, Titans 2026. Has this been floated before? Can we be the first person to potentially float that? I don't know.
I have had that conversation with members of my ESPN circle. I texted Dan Orlovsky and I said, Dan and we do Wednesday NFL Live together, and we've been trying to, it's a sort of you got to be careful there, right? Because he's still the Browns head coach. But I said, hey, to me, the perfect candidate for the Titans, if something changed in Cleveland, would be Kevin Stefanski. So we got it on the record here, public record now. It's a great thought, though. So you and I are in lockstep there because I think he's a really good quarterback developer. I think he's got a really good temperament that I think would be a good fit right now for Cam, because I think that it's, despite the promise I believe Cam Ward offers, and despite the fact that we knew it was going to be a long road. Like, it's the NFL, like it's an impatient league, and you need somebody that can come in and be like, we're in this. It might take 2 more years, right? Not all these guys are going to be Jaden Daniels, or maybe what we're seeing from Caleb Williams and Drake May in year 2. Might be year 3 or 4 before, you really, bear fruit. So I wouldn't be surprised if whoever becomes a Titans head coach, that's part of the messaging, is like, we're in this for the long haul together, because that roster, it's not just that it needs to be built up, it needs to be sort of torn down first too, right? Trades of players that are already on the roster to acquire extra draft capital wouldn't surprise me. Then you turn that draft capital into hopefully a foundation to build something going forward.
Feels like an adult in the room type. All right. Some stability there with the quarterback who you've invested in, who you believe in there. But yeah, we're getting way ahead of ourselves. I mean, the Browns might be like, we like Kevin Stefanski. We just gave him a contract extension this, couple off seasons ago. We knew what we were getting into this year. We're not getting rid of Stefanski or Andrew Berry. We're going to try to figure this out from a personnel standpoint and stick to them. But if they don't, or Field, if we get a coach trade, which I love, which I want to see more of in the NFL, now we're really talking. Now we got content that Field can talk about on ESPN, that I can talk about on the Ringer NFL show. All right, that was a lot of fun. Field Yates, check him out all over ESPN. I will be right back with the Ringer 107. Today's Ringer 107 is brought to you by FanDuel, and it has not been a good Ringer 107 for me through 6 weeks. I had one listener, his name's Benny. He said he's been tailing my picks. I said, Benny, go ahead and fade me. I'm not coming through for you this year. And you know how he responded? He said, I will ride into the depths of hell with you, Sheil. The books will hate us in week 7. So you know what, Benny? That's the morale boost I needed. Let's get to it. Let's get back on track. It's a long season. My 5 picks for the week. Pick number 1. I got the Rams -3 against Jacksonville in London. I know it looks like no Puka Nacua. That does scare me off a little bit, but I think the Rams will still be able to move the ball here. Games like this were the whole reason why they acquired Devontae Adams in the offseason. I know it hasn't been a great connection with him and Stafford yet, but I think he comes through here. I think the Rams pass rush, maybe more importantly, forces Trevor Lawrence into multiple turnovers, and the Rams cover 3 points. So that's the first pick. Pick number 2, Saints +5.5 at the Bears. Listen, it's just too many points. The Saints, I know the Saints can't produce explosive plays, but they can move the ball. Spencer Rattler has been competent. He really has not been bad so far this season. And I know that Bears run game looked really good last week. Can we see it? Can we see them do it again, please? You know, I'm not just going to look at that one game and say, all right, they fixed that. They're fine here. So they got that I need to see more of. Jake Moody looks like is still going to be their kicker here. So it's just too many points for me. I don't think there's a huge difference between these two teams, and I think the Saints find a way to keep it close. All right, pick number 3, Patriots -7 at the Titans. We talked about this one earlier. Sometimes you get scared by the new coach bump. Mike McCoy is not inspiring that Titans team to play better football, and Vrabel's going to run up the score, like I said. So Patriots -7 at Tennessee. 49ers -1.5 against the Falcons. I mean, the 49ers find ways to pick up yards every week. It doesn't matter who's playing. So I think they're going to be fine there. Maybe their defense gets gashed without Fred Warner, but is Atlanta really consistent enough offensively to take advantage of that? I need to see more from the Falcons before believing in them on the road in a spot like this. So I like the 49ers there, -1.5. And then last one here, the late game Monday night Texans +3.5 at Seattle. I've been burned by Houston before, but I still like their defense quite a bit. Seahawks are so run heavy. Mike McDonald is so conservative with his in-game management. He wants to win with his defense. So I think this is a fairly low-scoring game. I love that we get the hook here and they cover. You know, if they lose by 3, I win this one. So I don't know that they fix their offense. Maybe they get on track here. They looked a little bit better before their bye. CJ Stroud, come on. Help me out once here. Just once, CJ. All right. Today's Ringer 107 was brought to you by FanDuel. Odds subject to change. Thanks to everyone for listening. Thanks to Christopher Sutton for producing. Kiera Givens on social. Additional production supervision by Conor, Nevins, and Arjuna. Ramgopowell, we got a fun set of shows for you. Next week, I will be in Los Angeles with my friends from the Ringer. So we'll have a bunch of our Ringer colleagues on and we will talk football all next week. Until then, everyone have a great weekend. I'll talk to you Monday morning on the Ringer NFL Show. Must be 21 plus and present in select states. For Kansas, in affiliation with Kansas Star Casino, or 18 plus and present in D.C., Kentucky, or Wyoming. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit rg-help.com. Call 1-888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org/chat in Connecticut or visit mdgamblinghelp.org in Maryland. Hope is here. Visit gamblinghelplinema.org or call 327-5050 for 24/7 support in Massachusetts, or call 1-877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY in New York.